Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Aquarius August 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. For those of you who are stopping by for the first time, and as subscribers know, there are no advertisements throughout this content, so you get to enjoy it uninterrupted. You get the full experience. Now, speaking of experience, I've had the great pleasure of doing a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings with your Aquarian sisters and brothers over the course of the last month. And so if you'd be interested in finding out what's involved in that or anything about it, just check out the information in the description box below. I think you'll enjoy it. Now let's get 5 cards, shall we? By the way, I hope you are enjoying summer in the Northern Hemisphere, North America, Mexico, Canada, Europe. Hi to everybody in the Philippines as well. Hi to everyone in India, and hi in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Hello to Singapore and Malaysia. It's always nice and warm for you though, isn't it? Same as in Indonesia. And in the Southern Hemisphere, of course, there's the 4 of Cups. Countries such as South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Well, you're in the midst of winter, and so you're looking to, that was the 4 of Cups, 4 of Discs, Healer of Swords, mapping the mind. You're in the midst of winter, aren't you? So you're looking to do everything that you can. 10 of Discs, that's a great card for an Aquarius. And what's this? The 4 of Wands. Gee, it's good. Well, maybe this reading will warm you up, hey? So why don't you, as is usual, come down, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on the cards together while I do the reading for you. Now, I think you can see those, can you? Let's deal with them in the order that you drew them. And this is the 4 of Cups. Let's have a look at it, shall we? And it says, what's that? Untying the mask. Untying the mask. Well, we can actually see here there is a woman, clearly, and a mask. I think the painting is quite straightforward, isn't it? Wouldn't you agree? But what can we get from it, in particular from this title of Untying the Masks? Doesn't give me a lot of help. But look, let me just say this. We all want to have a self we can be proud of or feel good about. Now, when you get disconnected from your own basic goodness because of negative feedback from your environment, you may try to make up for that by developing an image of who you want to be or think you should be. You then try to support and maintain this image by developing certain personas and certain masks. And look, I suppose we all do that to some extent, don't we? We want to protect ourselves. But remember this, the more false the persona, the more support it takes to maintain it. I guess the psychologists would say that this leads to an unhealthy narcissism. Now, I'm not saying that you're narcissistic, but one where you might, in that case, the energy, what you need to feed the fuel, the fire of the false persona is constant adoration to keep that image in place. Now, feeling empty underneath and wanting desperately to protect your image, you react angrily when someone challenges it. Now, when you can accept yourself in your imperfections, realizing that you don't have to be better than others or better than you indeed are, you can be more authentic. It also helps if you can remember that the negative feelings you are keeping at bay are only feelings. When you are more objective about yourself, you are less in the throes of these negative self-images. Now, you are most likely to put on a mask when a negative self-concept has been triggered. You believe that this negative image is true and don't want others to know this, so you cover up. You may also grab for your mask in situations where you think You have to fulfill certain expectations. The problem is not so much having this persona available, but the problem is getting so lost in it that you lose touch with all the other aspects of yourself. And because this card has come up and as the first one you have drawn, I think it's an invitation to you to see what kind of mask you have developed. Can you make this real by actually making a mask with the characteristics you want others to see? What makes it so important to be seen in this way? Is it true that your more authentic self is so unattractive? I highly doubt that. I mean, Aquarian women are known to be beautiful, beautiful women of the zodiac, and the men are very magnetic. So this is a good time to experiment with taking off your mask. You may even discover that people like you just the way you are. Imagine that. Now, the next card that came out of the pack was this one, wasn't it? The Four of Discs. And what's it talking about? It's talking about manifesting home. Well, here's a great painting of, I love turtles. Where I live, there are a number of sea turtles around. Now, I think the image is quite straightforward, but let's just have a look at it for a moment. Look, I think what this does is it invokes the concepts of a sense of security and protection in the world. Home is, after all, a representation of that security and protection, and the turtle is a symbol of that security and protection. It carries its home with it. Now, wherever the turtle is, its home is right there, isn't it? Embedded in its structure. It can always retreat into a protected space, and having this security, it can roam far and wide. Now, there are many different levels to the sense of feeling at home. You can feel at home in your body. You can feel at home in your psyche, in your life circumstances, certainly in your house and in your neighborhood, in your general community, even at home in your regional country. Feel at home in the universe. I do. Our deepest sense of home is where and when we rest in our own essential nature, which is not separate from the source. Your own essential nature is not separate from the divinity. Now, establishing a comfortable physical home serves as an important foundation. Obviously, manifesting this is much easier if we feel deeply at home inside. Now, sometimes our desires for our physical home mirror what we want in our experience of self. For example, wanting a more spacious home with more distinctly defined spaces may indicate wanting a larger, more expansive experience of yourself with more differentiation. And wanting a cozy, a more integrated living space mirrors the same on the psychological level. If you think only about what is stylish or confers status, well, then that too tells you something, doesn't it? A home doesn't end with the outer walls of your dwelling, but it includes the sense of surrounding space, the plants, animals, air, and the light and sounds that filter through. They're all part of your sense of home, and they all contribute to how at home you feel. To the extent you separate yourself from the surrounding environment, home feels like an enclosed space rather than part of a larger field that you are at home in. Now, just as Grandmother Ocean here provides the larger holding environment for the turtle, the surrounding space, the larger universe, and your essential nature all provide a larger holding environment for you. Now, because this card has come up for you in a reading at this time, It's a good time to reflect on how you are feeling about your external base in the world, and particularly about your home. Are you satisfied with it? Do you find it beautiful and expressive? Or is it something you would rather other people not see? Has your home become confining in some way? Now, if so, how does this reflect your internal state? This is for you a time to be attentive to the home you want to create and to become aware of what elements, internal and external, are needed to do this. Now the next card, which we always do, is this center one here, which is mapping the mind. Now the mind is going to be very important to you, obviously, but I think there's a lot more to this than just mapping a mind. But here we have, in this painting, a woman who sits in the lotus posture, meditating. This allows her to open up to higher frequencies. Now she sees a mandala. That's this geometric pattern that's up behind her, used around the world, but in particular in Tibetan Buddhism to focus on while going into meditation or prayer. And this mandala helps her clear her mind. The mandala here is a pattern of wholeness. Now this isn't just symbolic. The center of the pattern, I think, acts as a portal, allowing higher energies to stream into her consciousness. Now the star and the moon in the woman's hands, see them here? There's the star and there's the moon there. They represent her creative powers, showing that once the mind is cleared, you have access to your creativity. Now, I've got a very strong feeling that Libra and Virgo are going to be important to you during this period here. And her association with Libra brings about a sort of a balance here. This is, I think, for you, mapping the mind, as it says, but nevertheless, I think it's all about you making clear decisions based on fact and fairness. Similar to, I think, that this woman would make herself. This represents, of course, these court cards can be of either gender, but I'll refer to it as a woman for the obvious reason. A woman who is graceful, very perceptive, a keen observer, a subtle interpreter. I think you'll be intensely individualistic during this period, and you'll be very confident. You'll have high levels of self-esteem and self-confidence. And in particular, here's these masks here again. I think you will be cutting through the old masks that you've been putting through, those that no longer serve you, and cutting through old roles. There's a lot of clarity here, rational thinking, intellectual, logical, objective. Setting aside your masks, renouncing the security offered by playing familiar roles, means the voluntary giving up of habitual defense mechanism. Yet, by using your penetrating insight, you come to recognize that the masks you wear not only protect and camouflage, but they also separate you from yourself and from others. And I think that this energetic cutting of them, because this is touching onto it, but this energetic cutting through of masks is going to liberate you. And you come out of the surrounding clouds and into clarity and openness. Now, I think you're going to have to use your intellect to make an unbiased decision about a situation. Compassion and empathy may distract you, so you must go with your head and not your heart. This is not a time to beat around the bush. It's a time to decide and act with respect to a situation. I think that you really now are in the process of separating yourself more and more from old roles and behavior patterns. Now, this may bring painful experiences with it, but it's worth it. The clarity you gain frees you. Now, which of the roles you most easily and most often hide behind? Are you ready to drop them? Maybe observe yourself in different roles. You can do that. Some of them you might continue to play, but now with more awareness, you see, you'll know that it is a role that you're playing. You're not taking on the character, and you'll play them until they no longer are something that you can identify yourself with. But remember this, and say this to yourself at this time: my only duty in life is to remain true to myself. Now we go to here. And what's this got to say for you? It's called The Great View. Oh, thanks. What have we got here? Well, that's an eagle. That's an eagle there. Well, the eagle has tremendous range. It can soar to great heights and then swoop down to earth to catch its next meal. It's thus the perfect symbol for the both and nature of engaging fully in the details of daily life and keeping a higher perspective. I think that this energy here challenges the notion that in order not to be trapped by or lost in the world, that you must constantly hover above it. The eagle isn't some mythical being that lives in the heavens, but it is a bird of prey whose existence is dependent on its ability to grab onto other physical beings and nourish itself. So this doesn't chain the eagle to the ground, just scrapping around for food like a chicken. Because it is efficient in hunting and meeting its material needs, the eagle can also soar upwards towards the sun. This card reminds you that you can do the same. You can engage fully on the earth plane and still ascend to the source, the absolute, the divine. And I suppose that all of this is, in a sense, depicted in this card. The two smaller birds represent engagement in the activity. These birds here, incidentally, I'm sure you can see them. They represent engagement in the activities of ordinary life, while the larger bird holding on to a higher perspective. And I suppose that's what the Tibetans call the Great View. Now, it is piercing through the world of form and recognizing that which does not die. Now, if you have this perspective, you're able to function effectively on the material plane, while at the same time staying true to spiritual values. Now, many are doing this in the realms of business, creating businesses that serve the planet and promote spiritual values, yet are financially successful and support the people they employ. Bringing your spirituality into the marketplace doesn't mean diluting what you cherish most, and certainly I'm not suggesting you go out and start selling religion. No. Bringing spirituality into life just means embodying it and materializing it. Now, this energy goes beyond narrowly defined self-interest, I think, to include the well-being of others, a view that helps you keep perspective on your own life and not to get lost in the details, and a kind of seeing that allows you to recognize the spiritual essence that absolutely saturates all of life. And because you have drawn this card, it's a good time to explore your own range. Which part of the both and do you need to strengthen? Keeping the higher view or zeroing in on the concrete details? Perhaps you want to strengthen them both. It is the full range that makes the eagle so powerful. Now finally to the fifth card that you drew, which is, these are all incidentally equally important, it seems to me, from the energy that's surrounding them. This is talking about opening the heart. Now, with the Wands suit here, that's fire. That fire ascends up the chakras. And here we are at the 4th chakra, often referred to as the heart chakra. The lower chakras, of course, say the 2nd chakra, for example, is to do with sexuality. But then we're getting into which is to do with the personal, but then we're getting into the more interpersonal or community type of energies that are here. So this heart chakra, along with the 5th or throat chakra, is one of the bridges between those 3 lower centers, which relate more to the personal self, and the higher chakras, which relate to vibratory energies that come from the higher realms. Now, in the image, some of these higher energies spiral down to assist with this opening. Here there is the Pan, the god of nature, is present, along with a Devic being. A Deva, well, members in India will understand what a Deva is. A Deva is a being of light. It's depicted in this sense, although it is a center of consciousness, something akin to an angel that the Western audience would be aware of. Now, it's a Deva and not a Diva. You might know a few Divas. You maybe have not encountered a Deva before. So there is Pan, the god of nature there, along with a Devic being, which I think the Devic being is a representation of the higher self and of the various spirit guides which you have. Now, in the Eastern tradition, the chakras are often depicted as lotuses. And here we see an inpouring into what is called the jewel in the heart of the lotus, which is the innermost core. Now, there are many reasons why the heart center may be shielded or closed. Some relate to disappointments or betrayals and losses. These are psychological wounds that often need to be worked through before you can feel it is safe to be vulnerable and undefended. Feelings of unworthiness and shame also close the heart, along with anything that creates a sense of aloneness. You must remember that you are not alone. Aloneness is only a feeling constructed in the psyche from various memories and images. More specifically, this card represents receiving spiritual help at the moment and at this time, spiritual protection to you. Now, this can take many forms. I think one of the things to do when you draw this card is to sit quietly, breathe into your heart, and welcome whatever help is available. Call out to whatever form of spirit you feel most resonance with. Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Vishnu, White Buffalo Woman, Virgin Mary, various saints, or the helps of ministering angels, or devas, or spirit guides. These beings are always available, waiting for you to call on them. All that is required is to ask sincerely and be open to the varieties of ways in which help comes, because I can assure you that if you have a problem and you give it to God, then within 48 hours, the answer intuitively brings its way back to you. What a particularly beautiful spread of cards for you this month. Good job. That's the way it is for you this month. Well, what a fascinating reading. I'm sure you will agree. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed providing it to you. I really look forward to doing your reading each month, you know. I really do. Truly I do. And, you know, I send you some good energy, the subscribers, throughout the month, which you will feel from time to time. So don't worry, I'm always thinking of you. You are never alone. Now, until I see you again, remember one thing, and one thing is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.